With so many organizers emphasizing the importance of data and storage, it goes without saying that there is a need for data and storage ecosystem. What are the key opportunities and how collaborations with SODA can bring value? This is the topic for our next keynote. And for that, I would like to invite on your screens now, Board Advisor at SNIA and Storage Management Architect at Intel, Rochelle Alvarez. Rochelle, over to you.
Hi, thanks. Let me just...
Hey.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone, depending on where you all are. I'm Rochelle Alvarez. I'm a storage management architect. I recently joined Intel, and as you can tell, I will talk really fast, so maybe we'll gain back a minute or two here. Let's see. So I recently joined Intel. I have a long history working with industry standards organizations. All of the panelists in this section or the keynotes in this section will actually be from that same market, from that same perspective. So we'll be switching our focus a little bit here. I currently sit on the board of directors for the Storage Networking Industry Association. I've worked across many different aspects of storage technologies, but my primary focus has been around data center and ecosystem manageability. There's many new and emerging technologies in the storage space, new application models driving data and storage segmentation and other technical dimensions that we could spend time to look at. But since we only have a few minutes, I'm going to focus in on a few examples of recent and emerging storage technologies and talk about standards, how standards, industry consortiums, and open communities can and in fact are working together to accelerate adoption of these new technologies by partnering together. So let's take a look at some of the bigger trends and note that these are affecting customers of all sizes from SMB through enterprise data centers. So first, cloud storage. So while cloud storage has been around for several years, this includes all these different types of cloud technologies, from private clouds to hybrid clouds to public clouds. Today there's an acceleration, and boy, I'm talking fast, sorry about that. I'll slow down a little bit. Today, there's an acceleration of customers planning adoption of public cloud storage, particularly for file share storage type applications. So I love data, so I pulled some for you. This particular survey source is provided below on the URI at the bottom of the screen there. You can see from this particular survey that the customers responding here are predicting a really large increase in their cloud usage, up to a 20% in just the next 2 years. That's quite significant given how long cloud's been available for them. We're talking technology that's been around for almost 15 years now. Okay, so that's cloud. Let's look at another technology. Let's look at some trends for SSDs. There's several different transitions happening here. There's shifts in technology types from SATA to SAS to NVMe, and there's also shifts in configuration usage. Some configurations will shift technologies much faster than others. So just talking about what's happening right now and over the next couple of years, there's a shift in desktop computer storage from SATA to SAS SSDs. So we can expect to see those SSDs dominate the desktop environments, largely SAS SSDs. So that's not a huge impact in terms of manageability. That's largely just incorporated. What we start to see is the server storage space and the external storage space. So for server storage, this shift is also happening, but there's also the inclusion of NVMe SSDs for high performance configurations. So for these configurations, you may see a tiered approach between hard drives, SAS SSDs, and NVMe SSDs as appropriate, although likely not all three in the same configuration. For external storage, there's, again, much of the same shift, although even more accelerated. There's already a strong market demand for all flash arrays, and this will continue to deliver high performance configuration as vendors deliver NVMe SSD-based arrays as well. Again, looking at the customer planning numbers, you can see a marked increase in SAS SSDs at 22%, with an even greater increase at 26% adoption increases for NVMe SSDs. Okay, now let's look at an emerging technology area, persistent memory. We talked already about some of the use cases driving tiered configurations. Some of these same underlying concerns, albeit up the stack a bit, are driving adoption of persistent memory, where customers are planning anywhere from a 12 to 20% increased adoption, again, just over the next couple of years. All right. So I've talked very simply about 3 of the trends in the storage industry today, and at a very high level. Each one of these is having a huge impact on how customers are building their storage environments, how they're managing their data. With all of these and more new and divergent technologies, how do industry associations like the SNIA that I'm a part of influence these technologies and accelerate adoption? Okay, let's just take a look at the breadth of the technologies that an organization that like SNIA covers. SNIA is a combined standards development organization and trade association. It does both standards technical development as well as vendor neutral technology education and promotion. As you can see from this diagram, the coverage of storage technologies is extremely broad, from the development of specifications for physical connectors used by all types of storage devices and interconnect devices to cloud storage, to persistent memory and computational storage, a couple of really new kind of emerging technologies there. Then there are technologies that support the others. So network storage, working across any type of network technology. Green storage, which is all about, making all of the various technologies, power efficient. Developing specs and programs like SNIA Emerald and working with the EPA to develop Energy Star for storage requirements. And of course, storage management. Manageability is a required component of every technology, and we're developing the SNIA Swordfish specification in this space. Last but not least, security and privacy is another extremely critical area. So these are some of the key elements of SNIA, but this is not absolutely everything in the storage space. So we strengthen this through alliances with other standards development organizations, consortiums, and open communities. These come in several forms. Associations such as the SCSI Trade Association and Fiber Channel Industry Association help promote our base underlying technologies that we use across the industry. Then we have some key management alliances. With DMTF, we have jointly developed multiple management standards and frameworks, and now with NBM Express, we have work in multiple areas as well, in manageability, as well as partnering to incorporate NVMe and NVMe over fabrics into storage and data center management, as well as working on emerging technologies such as computational storage. We also have partnerships like work with the Green Grid to direct green storage applications to the data center. With the new CXL consortium, we're partnering to develop and refine the application of CXL technology to persistent memory technology. So bringing 2 new things together. And that does things like accelerating the enablement of key value add, like pooled persistent memory with this combined technology. In the open community space, so I talked about SDOs and consortiums, and then we moved to open communities. In the open community space, we have partnerships with groups like the Open Compute Project, and OCP is working on identifying needed use cases and bringing those into SNIA for physical storage and connectivity and manageability with their participants in the hyperscaler space. Similarly, in the Open Fabrics community over here, the SNIA is working with OFA identified use cases to ensure that the SNIA Swordfish spec covers those targeted use cases, and also partnering with other groups within SNIA to deliver comprehensive education on all these related technologies. So that brings us to SODA. SODA is working in a very similar fashion. So the SODA orchestration management of storage then identifies those key use cases, and then partnering with SNIA can ensure that the required functionality is available again in the SNIA Swordfish spec, and thus driving that functionality into the underlying implementations. So as you can see, the key to the partnerships between the standards organizations and these open communities is to leverage the open community's focus on identifying key use cases and then partnering with the groups developing the specifications and standards to ensure those use cases are covered in the corresponding standards. This is how we accomplish our joint goals, accelerating the development of new technologies and helping drive adoption by working together. I don't think I got us back any time. Sorry.
That's all right, Michelle. Thank you so much. That was a really, really nice talk. And yeah, like I said, you did actually attempt to bring back some time, but thank you for the effort, though. We do have, I think we have a few questions. Let me just take a look at the questions. And I think we're just waiting for a few. What I will do is I will move to the next session, and Rochelle will get back to you if there are any questions in the Q&A box. Thank you for your session here. With that, let's go on now to the next session of the day. And for that, I would like to invite on your screens Cheryl Hong. Cheryl couldn't join us here in person, so there is actually a recording. So Cheryl Hong is the VP Ecosystem of CNCF. Let's hear from Cheryl.
Native Computing Foundation. Hi, I'm Cheryl Hung, VP of Ecosystem at the Cloud Native Computing Foundation. And today I'm very excited to be here with you at SODACON, where we're going to discuss the results from the CNCF End User Technology Radar, and in particular, our latest report from November 2020 on database storage. First off, a little bit about me. So my mission at the Cloud Native Computing Foundation is to help end users be productive and successful as they're adopting cloud native technologies such as Kubernetes, Prometheus, Envoy, and many more. Previously, I worked at Google as a software engineer building products, features for Google Maps, and I previously was engineering manager at StorageOS. So storage is something that's definitely close to my heart. And you can find me online at oicheryl.com or on Twitter at oicheryl. So at the CNCF, I work primarily with the end user community. This is a group of 147 companies who are using and adopting cloud native, but they don't sell any cloud native products or services. So these tend to be in companies such as financial services, retail, travel, healthcare, government, and so on. And this includes really some of the largest names and some of the largest companies worldwide. The CNCF End User Technology Radar was launched in June 2020 to really explore what end users think about, what they recommend, and what they really use. And it was inspired by the ThoughtWorks Radar, but with the goal of making it a little bit simpler and to make it driven by the community instead of by a single company. So if you've seen the ThoughtWorks Technology Radar, this is a once-a-year report with hundreds of items spanning all different technologies and industries, whereas the goal for the CNCF End User Technology Radar is to publish every single quarter on a different topic and just cover 10 or 20 tools that are used in that topic. And our methodology is each quarter, we select a group of random volunteers from the CNCF end user community, and they form a radar team for that quarter. That radar team chooses a topic of interest to them, something that they're currently struggling with or something that they want to investigate further. We at CNCF survey all of the companies and ask them, what tools do you use and how do you recommend them internally? And then from those results, the radar team will choose their final opinions on where each tool lies and point out any interesting patterns or interesting themes that they saw. So it is worth noting that this is a somewhat subjective view. This represents the opinions of one group of companies and this particular group of editors. And for November, I'd like to introduce our editors. They are Jackie Fong, who's an engineering leader at Ticketmaster, Smain Kaluch, who's a DevOps team leader at Dailymotion, and Maya Pidros, who's a principal engineer at Indeed. And when I got together with these folks and I asked them, what kind of topics are you currently interested in and what are you struggling with at the moment? And they settled on database storage. So within cloud native and within containers, obviously running stateful applications has always been a challenge, and running databases even more so, and running them with high availability, with all of the characteristics that you would expect from a cloud native architecture. So just to go over the definitions of what we asked people, how we asked companies to rate the different tools. So we gave them 3 options: adopt, trial, and assess. Adopt means we've used this for a long time, it's stable, it's mature, and we can definitely recommend it to other people and other companies. Trial means we've used it ourselves, it's been successful, and we recommend that you should take a closer look at this if you're looking at a tool within database storage. Thirdly, we have assess. Assess means we've tried it, but perhaps it's only useful in certain use cases, or perhaps it's a tool that we're not sort of strongly recommending in the future for future new applications, but we still think that it's worth a look. And finally, one option that's not on here, which is hold, and hold meaning we recommend you don't use this anymore. And in October 2020, the companies in the end user community cast 273 votes. You can see on the left the actual view that they did it. This is just a typical Google spreadsheet. And this was chosen this way for a specific reason, which was to allow people to add more tools and more items that they used. So it wasn't a fixed list of tools that they could choose from. They could choose to add as many as they wanted. And we asked each of them to add a column with the name of their company, and then for each tool, say whether they would place it within adopt, trial, assess, or hold within their own companies. And we also allowed people to add comments to give them more information or more explanation about why they chose this level. You'll also note that this was public within the end user community. So each company could see what each other company used for database storage. And the companies that voted, you can see the top 5 industries were financial services, software, e-commerce, entertainment, and travel. And then in terms of the size of companies, the majority of them were sort of medium to large, so 1,000 or more employees. Finally, we can actually take a look at the results of this. So the first thing you'll see is that there are only about 15 results, 10, 15 results here. The reason for that is that the radar team felt that below this number, there weren't enough votes for it to be meaningful. So as the radar was intended for their own subjective judgment, they decided to cut off the point here. And you'll see from these bars, so green again is the adopt, this blue, green is trial, yellow for assess, and then gray is hold. So you can see that, for example, Redis has a lot of adopt votes and very few hold votes, whereas something like MongoDB had a little bit more of a mix. About half said that they recommended to adopt it, about half said we think you should just assess or you should hold on this. So let's look at the final results of this radar. Basically, this is drawing a line. somewhere between each of these where you think adopt and trial and assess should go. Within adopt, we had MySQL, Memcached, Elasticsearch, Postgres, Kafka, and Redis. Falling into trial, we had Console, BigQuery, Cassandra, AWS DynamoDB, Cloud SQL, MongoDB, and Aurora. And finally, in assess, we had MariaDB, CockroachDB, and Vitess. And I wanted to ask the Radar team a little bit more about what they thought they saw that was noticeable or surprising to them, what they expected, and here's what they came up with. The first thing that they saw was that companies are cautious with their data and slow to adopt newer technologies. A lot of the ones that are in adopt here are very well known, especially compared to other things within cloud native. They've been around for a long time and they're trusted and stable. And there's good reasons for that, because moving data or moving storage is not like adopting an observability tool where you can easily roll something out and try it for a few months and then decide you don't like it. With moving data, it's a difficult and risky operation. So companies tend to stick with some tools and stick with them for much longer. You will notice that MariaDB, CockroachDB, and Vitess are all API compatible with some of the more established solutions, and that is to encourage the adoption, easy migration from one of these tools to one of these. The second thing that they noted is that choosing a managed database service depends heavily on your use case. One of the ones that you will not see here is RDS, Amazon's RDS. And the reason for that is that RDS can cover many, can be backed by many different technologies. And the Radar team felt that RDS, it wasn't clear what a vote for RDS meant. So they chose to exclude it entirely from this Radar. The third thing to note that the Radar team thought was interesting is that there are many, many technologies out there which are for more specific use cases. For example, a graph database. And just because it didn't appear on here and it's not applicable to everybody, doesn't mean that it's not necessarily useful for you if you are considering database storage, or you're interested in what end users use for database storage. So there might be excellent reasons to use a great database solution that is not available here. And just as a reminder, the way to read this Radar, if you were choosing a database solution today, would be look at some of the different options in Adopt first and prioritize looking at these, and then go and try the ones that are in the second ring in trial. And then thirdly, look at assess. So it's not an indication that there is one perfect solution for everybody. It's more an indication of which tools and technologies are widely used and widely recommended. I highly recommend, if you're interested in looking at this more, going to radar.cncf.io. And in this, we have recorded an interview with the team, with Jackie, Swain, and Maya, and they go into more detail about why they chose the specific tools and why they put them in the specific areas. And you can also go and look at some of the other radars that we've previously published in different use cases around continuous delivery and observability. Finally, how can you get involved? If you want to find out what will happen on the next Tech Radar, you can vote. You can go to cncf.io/tech-radar. And there we're asking people to vote on what kind of topics they want to see. So if there are different topics within storage or different topics altogether that you want to find out about how they're used in cloud native, then you can go to this URL here. Secondly, you can contribute to future radars. If you're an end user company, you can join the end user community at cncf.io/people/end-user-community. And there you can get access to the raw results, including which companies actually recommend what, and you can talk to other people within the community. Or if you're a vendor, you should recommend that your end users join this end user community so that your products are represented on future radars. And lastly, we've only really just started doing this, so we'd love to get some more feedback. Do you think this is useful? Do you agree with the results? Do you think that there's something different in the methodology that we could be doing? Please send your feedback to info@cncf.io. And that is everything. Thank you so much. These slides are on my blog at oisherald.com, and you can reach me by email at chung@linuxfoundation.org. Thank you so much.
Right. Thank you, Cheryl. I believe she is not in today for questions, but if you have any questions, please post them in the Q&A, and we will get them across to her. With that, ladies and gentlemen and others, it's time for me to call upon your screens the next keynote speaker for today, and it is IEEE senior member and NFV R&D expert from HPE, Chengappa MR. Over to you, Chengappa.
Thank you, Anvit. Seems like, one second.
If you need help with the slides, we can do that for you. You can just let us know.
Hold on. So hope I am, my audio feed is coming through clearly.
Audio is clear. Video is clear.
Okay.
And slides are clear.
Hold on.
We are good to go.
Thank you, Anvit. So in the interest of time, I would be keeping it very crisp. Again, so I would like to thank my earlier speakers who did emphasize on open source collaboration among the communities. And here, at least my agenda was for this keynote would be to emphasize on what open source means to IEEE and what are the steps that IEEE as an organization is doing with open source. And in case someone is not very familiar with IEEE, IEEE is one of the world's largest professional association dedicated to advancing technological innovation and excellence for the benefit of humanity. IEEE and its member inspire a global community through its highly cited publications and educational and professional activities. So there are more than 400,000 IEEE members spread across 160 countries. And IEEE publishes a third of world's technical literature in electrical engineering, computer science, and electronics, or be it any domain. The latest and the greatest trends evolving as of today. And is a leading developer of international standards that underpin many of today's telecommunications, information technology, and power generation products and services. On this slide, I would like to emphasize other two programs which IEEE is doing. So one is Industry Connection, which aims at incubating new standards and related products and services by facilitating collaboration among other organizations. And in fact, we also have a program which we call it as conformity assessment, where we aim to develop and implement programs that couple with the open standard development activities with conformity assessment going on in tandem, which for sure aims to help in accelerate market adoption while reducing uh, 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 we can say the implementation cost and go to market. So Moving on to next, I would like to give a brief of the background where IEEE started to taking open source a bit more seriously, and as we all agree that open source movement continues, and even it has influenced IEEE Standards Association. And in the words of Mr. Joshua Gay, who in fact is the manager of IEEE Standards Open Source Community Manager, it is a dramatic change for such a big and a traditional organization such as IEEE, and a wonderful opportunity, in fact, having such a large and global charity entering into an open source space. So it all started with IEEE Standards Association Board of Governors Corporate Advisory Group, chartering an ad hoc committee to work with the other entities within the IEEE, including IEEE legal and compliance, to determine entire IEEE appropriate use cases around open source development, intellectual property options, pilots for open source work, market and communication for stakeholders. So, in fact, like IEEE Standards Association did the research identifying, which identified, in fact, like open source to be evolving and as a necessary market development mechanism complementary to open standards. The research also paved insights into the next generation infrastructures and vertical industries and consumer deployments, and expected to be independent upon open source across the market sectors. And open source provided the potential for expanded integration of the existing or the discrete technology ecosystem, be it around 5G, IoT, analytics, big data, virtual and augmented reality, artificial reality, vertical platforms to name like smart energy, smart cities, automotives, and so on. So industry feedback in the research also indicated that open source solutions could provide improved time to market solutions and potentially provide economic benefits both to suppliers and consumers. And finally, it also indicated that standards and open source community initiations were expanding, and where open source was being considered more frequently as an option to address the industry requirements. So here there are some of the open source projects which IEEE has started incubating once it went, or rather like formed this IEEE Standards Association open source projects, and anyone can volunteer to collaborate with IEEE. So it all starts with applying for a pilot project. So one needs to complete this open source information request form. So folks who are interested can reach out to us offline, and we can guide them through the process of it. And once the request form is accepted as a pilot, so all contributions for any material subjected with respect to open source development shall submit an appropriate a CLA. So basically like a contribution license agreement with IEEE. So once that is in place, we would be facilitating a GitLab area, which will be established where all the relevant materials can be uploaded for initial review, including the IPR review by the community manager, and from there on we can build upon it. Uh, in these lines, these are some of the efforts that IEEE is in fact looking forward to popularize and open source within IEEE communities. So the IEEE open source platform consists of the code and the document repositories, license repositories, communication forums, project management systems, and related administrative and end users tools maintained by IEEE for the purpose of hosting open source projects, together with the associated governance mechanisms, support mechanisms, and other services offered to the participants, users, and the consumer of the open source projects. In fact, like IEEE also established this new office which we call as IEEE standards open source community, which is managed by Mr. Josh Gay. So again, for interested folks who want to submit a pilot with an IEEE can reach out to Mr. Josh, and then or even offline connect with us where we can engage with them and help them to submit a pilot project for IEEE open source community. Again, with our extended efforts, we are in fact looking forward to collaborate with open source organization and be a part of the open source conferences such as SODACON. To conclude, we must all agree that the open source movement has in fact already revolutionized a number of industries by empowering end users to contribute to the products that they need and want, and fueling the grassroots development of the projects in completely new areas, as well as their sustained and continual improvements. Along the same lines, IEEE Bangalore section is in fact exploring ways to collaborate with SODA India Foundation, exploring opportunities for using open source technology to assist in creating impactful changes in addressing some of the world's most challenging problem. So with this, I go back to the organizers. And
Thank you
again, so
so
any
much,
interested,
Chengapa.
yeah,
Thank you.
thank you, Anvit.
All
Thank
right,
you.
then.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, please go ahead, Chengapa.
Yeah, so as I said, people who are interested to submit any pilot within the open source project can in fact reach out to Josh or even offline connect with us. So if there are any questions, please direct to me so that we can take that forward.
Absolutely, absolutely. So if you do have any questions regarding how to connect with the IEEE or CNCF or for that matter the Solar Foundation, please do use the chat or the Q&A section below, and we will be contacting you regarding. Okay, there is a question. It says, do pilots get funds? Do pilots get funds?
Well, we do get funds, so that would be a the IEEE has a ways of addressing it. So we do have funds where IEEE would be funding such projects. So that's what. So before even after even submitting a pilot form, right? So that would be going through a process of a stringent checks, and then once approved, IEEE has its ways of funding that pilot and taking it to the open source.
All right. Thanks, Shangapa. I believe we are really out of time now for any more questions. There are a few, but I will direct them to the speakers directly. Thank you again for your time,
Sure.
Rochelle. Thank you, Chengapa, and thanks, Cheryl, for sending in your video. We do have a few questions for you, but we will get them across to you later.